Wake up, you know what that means. It's Saturday morning. You went out, you drank to excess last night, not realizing you had obligations on Saturday. Number one obligation is to listen to us. Sports Frenzy 2.0, the weekend edition, your politically incorrect pop culture podcast.
Your Saturday morning hangover cure.
That is your Uncle Dave, the Conquistador, Dave Height.
That is the maestro, Kevin Crane.
So get your ass moving, get the coffee percolating, get the eggs and bacon frying. Settle in for an hour and a half of pop culture, wit, wisdom, insults, dumbasses, you name it, we got it.
And, of course, as always, we start with music.
And the summer concert season for us is taking off. It's going to be a very, very rare week indeed, where we do not have our concert review for you from here on out all the way through into mid-October. Yes, we've got about 10 concerts left here in the concert season, so be prepared.
Get ready to go.
Yep. This week's review, going back to last Friday night, which of course would have been July the 12th, Friday night, at the Ruoff Music Center in Noblesville, Indiana, an arena, an outdoor venue that we are very, very familiar with, having been there dozens and dozens and dozens of times in the past. Parti Gras 2.0. Last year it was Bret Michaels, Night Ranger, Jefferson, Starship, the dip fuck from Sugar Ray, and the other dip fuck from Journey. Like their fifth most important lead singer.
Yeah.
This year the lineup much more promising, but a little diverse.
Yeah, there was a curveball thrown that we were not anticipating.
Yep, so let's set the story for you. Or since we're talking about a concert, let's set the stage for you. Lineup: Bret Michaels, Dee Snider of Twisted Sister, of course, Lou Gramm, original lead singer of Foreigner, and Don Felder, former guitarist for the Eagles, along with country singer Chris Janson. There's your little curveball there for you. Now, of course, Dave and I, being the naive dipshit fucks that we are, along with Mrs. C, but we would never say that about her, thought that we might get half-hour sets from everybody. You know? That would be a nice way to do things. Everybody gets a half hour. That'll give you a nice 3-hour concert.
Yeah.
You know, with breaks, stretch it out to 4. That'll take you from 7 to 11.
Yep, finish off with Bret Michaels doing his thing.
Yep.
Just, whoa.
Well, now it started off looking like we were right.
Yes.
We got about a half hour, 35-minute set from Don Felder,
who was great.
Yep.
Looked and sounded phenomenal. Great guitar playing. Vocals were spot on.
Even though there were a lot of these songs he did not sing.
Right. But he sounded really good.
But he was in the Eagles for such a long time. All through their most formative creative years.
Yeah.
So he plays 7 songs, all Eagles classics. Already Gone, One of These Nights, 7 Bridges Road.
Take It Easy, Heartache Tonight.
Life in the Fast Lane, and closing out with Hotel California. He brings out the double neck guitar for that one. Now, I'm not saying I was disappointed. I thought he was exceptional, but I really wanted him to play heavy metal. His heavy metal. The great soundtrack to that movie had 2 songs called Heavy Metal.
Yes.
Sammy Hagar, who still plays his to this day. Maybe not this year because of the Van Halen tribute, but I would have liked to have heard Don Felder play his heavy metal.
That would have been perfect to close it out, or even to have started. But everybody knows him from the Eagles, so that's what he was focusing on.
Yep, and Bret Michaels, the whole concept behind Parti Gras is nothing but hits. Nothing but hits. That's all we're playing are hits.
Yeah.
So some music snobs might not consider his version, his heavy metal, to be a hit. But that's fine. He was awesome. Good to hear. Solid half hour, 35 minutes of Eagles classics done extremely well. But then Mrs. C happens to stumble on something from the internet.
Yep, the lineup for the evening. We see Dan Felder for 35 minutes. Then next up, 50 minutes from Chris Jansen. And again, we're like, who the hell is Chris Jansen? I guess he's got like 2 really popular country songs that he sings. I guess he's written for other people. And as he tells it, he invited Bret Michaels to join him for a CMT.
Yeah, they do some kind of show together, yeah.
They do something, and they became good friends through that, which is how he got on this tour. It was all right.
Now,
A hell of a lot better than Jamie Johnson from a few years back from that debacle.
Yeah, I wandered through most of Mr. Jansen's set.
It wasn't bad.
No, I heard a lot of it, and it seemed like he did a lot of cover songs to
He did
appease
a couple
the
of
requirements of all hits. So, yeah, I did a little bit of Purple Rain when I got back. And
he did a little medley thing. And
yeah, I heard him playing Will the Circle Be Unbroken when I was out in the concourse. And so, you can tell the people how good he was, because I saw 15
decent.
minutes.
I would have rather had our concept.
Which is what I was getting to, yes. Dave and I being the dipshits assuming, which you should never do, because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
That's right, because, we expected McGrath, Sugar Ray, come on, they weren't that big, so you knew you were only going to get a couple from him last year, and the guy from Journey,
Steve
you're only
Algary,
you're only going to get a couple from him, but you've got 2 lead singers from big bands. Lou Gramm from Foreigner and Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. You would expect to have at least a half-hour set from each of them. Wrong.
Because the lineup we were looking at after the 50 minutes for Chris Jansen said, okay, and then Bret Michaels is going to play for an hour and, hour and a half, hour and 15, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
And then there's no mention of Lou Gramm, no mention of Dee Snider whatsoever.
And we're like, shit, he's going to do the pull-out, bring them out for just a couple. And
just like he did with McGrath and Algary last year. And like you said, come on. I mean, you can't compare.
It's Lou Gramm and Dee Snider, for crying out loud. Do not relegate them.
So what happened was Bret Michaels came out. He played 3 songs. 3 Poison hits, of course. And I'm sorry, I've heard enough Bret Michaels and Poison
to last me a lifetime.
That had to be
the
8th, maybe, combining Poison and him solo.
Yeah,
had to
we've
be at
seen
least
him
the
a lot.
8th time I've seen him. I've seen him one more than you,
Yeah.
I think. Oh my God. Enough. I don't need to hear Ride the Wind anymore. It's not that great of a song to me. I don't like Your Mama Don't Dance.
No, that was a disaster. He brought Chris Jansen out to do the harmonica with him on that one.
You know, Talk Dirty to Me, of course I love. But he doesn't play the better Poison songs when he's doing stuff solo. Like, the highlight of every Poison show I've ever seen is when they come out and kick things off with Look What the Cat Dragged In.
Yes, which, of course, we did not get.
No, he won't do that without CC and the boys.
Yeah.
So we get 3 songs. Then we get Lou Gramm coming out for 3 songs. Now, in retrospect, probably a good call.
Yes, Lou did not look like he could go much beyond 3 songs.
He did a very good job with the 3. cold as ice, hot-blooded, jukebox hero. I think that was his limit, though. So maybe that was a good call.
Yeah. That's where we're at there. All right, so Brett comes back out, does his Something to Believe in, Unskinny Bop, and Fallen Angel, which I think from his run, Fallen Angel was probably the one that got the crowd into his stuff the most.
Yeah, and then, of course, he always, and it's a great thing, he always, when he does Something to Believe in, that's his tribute to the military and the first responders.
And military folks, so he brings them out, and a nice little thing there. So after Fallen Angel, he brings out D. Snider. Holy crap, D was ready to headline a freaking show. Comes out with "We're Not Gonna Take It."
Boundless energy. Oh my God.
He's bouncing everywhere, belting it out. The crowd is at its high point for the night. Everybody's dancing, singing along, and he finishes that up and thanks everybody else for warming the crowd up for him. And then he runs into his little monologue where he goes, "All right, I gotta explain something to you people. It's like, that song and the next one I'm gonna sing are the two most licensed songs from the 80s for movies, TV shows, commercials. And I gotta tell you a story about the next one. It was used and why it was in the movie SpongeBob SquarePants." I get a call from my agent. He says, "D, they want to use your movie or your song as the climax of SpongeBob SquarePants, but they want to change the lyrics to Goofy Goober Rock." And D goes, "Phil," that's my agent's name, Phil. I go, "Phil, this is my livelihood. This is my song. They're paying me how much?" And he goes, "So the moral of the story, kids, is D is a whore, but he's an expensive whore." And then he goes into "I Wanna Rock." And then ends his 3-song set with a rockin' rendition of "Highway to Hell." After he teaches the crowd how to properly do the metal horns.
Yeah, I love. He says, "Don't do them this way because we're not spinning webs."
I don't even know what the hell this means, doing the hang loose.
Yep. Yeah, so as opposed to Lou Gramm, where Lou, a little bit older, although I don't think he's that much older than D.
He's about 5 years older.
Okay.
But he's right there with Felder.
Yeah.
And Felder was in great, been rocking it out.
Yeah, whereas Lou, I think, didn't have the gas tank to carry off more than 3 songs. I was worried with D. Snider, almost the exact opposite, that he was putting so much energy and so much effort and screaming and into these songs that he was going to burn out, flame out after 3 songs.
Yeah. But no, he was just boom, boom, boom.
Yep, definitely the highlight of the evening. And then Bret Michaels comes back. Of course, has to do "Every Rose Has Its Thorn."
Brings out a young lady, local talent, to play guitar along with him to highlight, because he likes to highlight young musicians locally. And then brings everybody out to close out with "Nothing But a Good Time."
Except Lou Gramm.
Except Lou Gramm did not come out.
I don't think Felder came out either.
No, I don't think he did. But D and Jansen came out for it.
Yep. And D. Snider kind of sang sort of co-lead at the end.
Yeah.
So I will say this. I was discouraged once we heard what the lineup was going to be in terms of who was playing how long compared to what we wanted. But in the end, I don't think it's fair to compare it to last year's because last year had the Mighty Night Ranger.
Right.
And you cannot compare anybody in any way, shape, or form
to the Ranger.
No, just can't. Just can't. So last year had that massive high point. Now, D. Snyder this year was very, very good, but a much shorter set. But what we got there at the end kind of redeemed everything to a certain point.
Yeah.
It ended up being a fine show, a solid show. Again, Felder starting things off was tremendous.
Felder and Snyder were the highlights of the night.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Graham was fine.
Graham was fine.
For the short little
did.
3-song set we got.
We got the songs that we should have gotten from him.
And as you said, the songs that should be played.
That should be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah. Yeah, you notice how he didn't play I Want to Know What Love Is.
Yeah. That would have brought the night to a screeching halt.
Yes. The only ballad you play on this night is Every Rose Has Its Thorn. And that's it. That's the only acceptable one.
Exactly.
So, overall, I would give it a strong 3 frenzies.
Yep. Right where it belongs.
Yep. Solid. Not up there in the pantheon of classic shows, but at the same time,
but it was a
night.
fun little night.
Yep. And again, gained momentum as it went along, so that was cool. So definitely worth seeing. I don't know how many dates they've got left. I don't think it's an extensive tour.
No. Bret Michaels for Parti Gras 3 would really have to do something and bring people in if I were to go again.
Now, see, I swear I read something a couple months ago from him that he swore that 2025 was Poison. That he was committing to Poison for 2025. So even though he did say that he was looking at Parti Gras next year as well, I swear to you, I read that he had committed to Poison for 2025.
Well, he said he would be back. Maybe not necessarily with Parti Gras, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know that I would go see Poison straight up again.
That's just, we've seen them enough.
Yeah.
We've seen them enough. And they're not one of those bands where they'll tweak their set list
enough. Don't have enough to tweak their set list.
Yeah, they literally, we saw them how many years in a row, and they never changed the set list?
Yeah, 3 years in a row.
Yep.
Years 2 and 3, we went for the opening acts.
Yep. No, I'm with you. It's not like a Def Leppard who will always change their set list, for better or for worse. This year, thank God we're not seeing them because I'm very upset with the fact that they've taken Let It Go out of their set list. But, you can always depend on Def Leppard. You can always depend on Night Ranger, Collective Soul, Jackal, our go-to bands.
Yep.
They're
going to entertain you and be fun.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Poisons, we just happened to, as you said, we wanted to see the opening act, or here at Parti Gras, wanted to see some of the other performers around Bret Michaels, not necessarily him.
Right. So, you get what you get. And it was fine.
Yep. All right, let's save the big guns for a little bit later. Let's move on to TV and streaming. Don't have a ton to go through here, so let's just knock this out real quick. We do have, of course, our weekly recap of The Boys. Season 4, Episode 7. So that means as we are taping tomorrow,
Hold on.
as you're listening,
Be
it's already
careful,
out.
I don't want to get nervous.
Oh, God. That gives me a whole different perspective on Spider-Man. So the sad news is that as you're listening to this, Season 4 is done.
Yeah,
the last episode is dropped. As we tape, it's dropping tomorrow. So, we are through Episode 7.
God,
The
7
aftermath.
already.
The aftermath of the
Tech
orgy.
night the Tech Night party.
Yeah, the orgy in Episode 6. The aftermath of that. We're starting to see, backstabbing, you know.
Yep.
I was kind of
Things are starting to come to a head.
I'm just kind of happy because I hate Sister Sage. I was kind of happy to see her. I know she'll come back. She'll
In
have some
some
kind of
way.
schemes, some kind of plan to get her revenge. You know, and then we can always hope and pray that we get to see Firecracker naked. I mean,
In all her glory.
yep, stars and stripes forever, baby. But of course, the boys are still trying to figure out a way
To take out Homelander.
yep, without taking out the rest of the population of
Yeah.
superheroes, which would of course include Homelander's son, which is kind of, sort of Butcher's son, you know.
Yeah.
In spirit, yeah, I guess stepson in spirit.
Yeah.
He didn't know, but of course you'd have to go back a couple seasons to
know
relive
what's
that.
going on.
Yep.
There's a lot set up for this final episode.
Yep. Yep. And it looks like it's all going to come down to a leg.
Yep, they're going to hopefully have a leg to stand on by the end of it. But
now, of course, next week we will give you our full season 4 recap of The Boys. Sad as it is, bittersweet to say adieu, bye-bye to The Boys for probably another year and a half before the final season.
yeah. I do have one little side note. The actor who plays Black Noir actually has narcolepsy.
Really?
Yeah. My youngest Nick was listening to an interview with Anthony Starr and the actor who plays Deep. And they were talking about that. And he goes, oh yeah, he's narcoleptic. He falls asleep on the set. And he also has the peanut allergy, which came into play like 2 seasons ago. So they wrote this guy's stuff. Kripke is that good when putting this stuff together.
Yeah, and speaking of the Deep, Chase Crawford is the actor.
Crawford.
A little dark turn for him.
Ooh, big time.
Here. Woof. Big dark turn for the Deep. So, again, next week we will recap the entire season 4 for you. We're also looking at, I think Dave and I are simpatico on this, probably going to check out, at least to see if it's any good, on Peacock. I believe it's a limited series.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins in the ancient Roman epic For Those About to Die.
And that's already, as you're listening, that is already dropped at least an episode or 2. Not sure if they're going to drop the full thing on Peacock, but...
Yeah, the chariot races that we've seen previewed look phenomenal.
Yep, so that is out there right now for you as we tape. Just like The Boys, it drops Thursday, so not quite there for us yet, but as you listen to this, it is out there. Go check it out. Now, going back to music just for a second, we didn't address what we're going to listen to next week. The brand new album from Deep Purple, Equals One. Couple new songs. New song from Seether, Judas Mind, and new song from one of our smaller bands.
That we've kind of...
One of our dirty little secret type bands.
Yeah, the Cold Stairs.
Yep. Blow Wind Blow from their upcoming album, The Southern. And then, of course, in terms of movies, we'll get to that in a few minutes. We'll fill you in on what we're going to be looking to review for you next week when it comes to motion pictures. One little quick note from me on TV and streaming. I am still watching Loudermilk. I'm a couple episodes into the 2nd season. Thank God, at least to this point, they have dropped the horrendous storyline I told you guys about last week.
The boss bullying his protege or whoever into taking the hit and going to...
And then getting stuck with the nastiest, meanest, most psychotic sponsor he could get.
Yeah.
It's lazy writing. I hate storylines like that where no matter what the protagonist does, it's just going to get worse. It reminded me, remember the classic movie After Hours with Griffin Dunn?
Oh, God.
Where it was just that night from hell where every choice he made
Was
was
just wrong.
Whether, it was just bad luck or he consciously made a stupid decision. It's kind of like that. So, but now season 2's bounced back. Much stronger, much better as we get more louder milk and none of that crap. So hopefully they'll revisit that at a bare minimum to wrap it up. I'm hoping, I'm praying.
Hopefully it's quick.
Yep.
And of course, I wasn't here last week to hype up in the middle of the greatest week of TV programming in Discovery history. Yes, it was Shark Week, hosted by John Cena. So there you go. I've got them, the new ones DVR'd. We're going to be hitting them over the next couple months. So there you go.
I'm just shaking my head.
Come on. It's an American institution.
I've never been a Shark Week guy. Never, ever, ever. And the promos that I saw with Cena, he looks like he's going way over the top.
He can't be any worse than Momoa.
Yeah, well, I'm not a big fan of his. I like Cena.
That's why I'm kind of anxious when we get to watching him, seeing what he's going to do. Because Momoa was just bad. Awful. So, all right. Now, we've got a big book review, highly anticipated from us for decades. And we're going to cover that here on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, CastBox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Don't forget to check out the Facebook page, and that is, of course, iHeartRadio. But you should iHeart Sports Frenzy as well.
Don't forget Thursday mornings, drop the sports edition. But it's time for Literary Frenzy.
Yep. And usually we would play the dulcet tune of the Beatles.
Paperback Writer
would be our background music as we once again, back in the old days, in cable access, would break copyright rules left and right. Which, of course, you can't do now with YouTube.
It's highly frowned upon, blah, 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 blah.
We will take your recording or your video down. Whatever. So, we can talk about Paperback Writer. We just won't sing it. And won't play it.
We could sing it. It wouldn't even be close, so we could get away with that.
I don't think the people want to hear that.
No, they don't.
If they want to hear something really, really bad, they should go back and listen to the national anthem from the Home Run Derby. Yeah, if we sing Paperback Writer and it sounds bad, do we get to go to rehab?
Maybe we need to.
As we sit here drinking some more adult beverages as we record this podcast.
But no, our favorite author, the great James Lee Burke, has finally given fans of the Dave Robichaux series the book centered around Dave's best friend and partner, Clete Purcell, in the book Clete.
Yep. It is technically a Dave Robichaux novel, but as Dave mentioned, a big difference. First big difference is that this is told from the perspective of Clete Purcell. And then the second part of this that's intriguing is we travel back in time about 25 years.
Yep.
For this little tale, which involves potentially a viral apocalypse. Is this James Lee Burke's little commentary on COVID?
Potentially a pandemic-related. I would not put it past him, as brilliant of a writer as he is.
Yep, and he even dips into the whole self-referential well as there's a movie being filmed. lot of the Dave Robichaux books involve filmmaking in and
Yes.
around New Orleans and New Iberia, because of
It
course,
centers around a lot of the Civil War.
right, and so of course, the movie at the center of this, or it's not really in this, it's kind of on the periphery, but it plays a part, is actually based on his last book.
Yep, Flags on the Bayou.
Yep. So that's kind of an interesting little tweak, a little mind fuck
Yeah.
there for you. But yeah, it's very interesting, and I give Burke so much credit, even more than I already have given him, for being able to change his writing voice enough to make Clete's perspective sound different from Dave Robichaux's, who's usually telling these stories in all the other books.
Yeah. He does a phenomenal job making it Clete's own, because you get bits from Clete's interaction with Dave in the previous books, and you kind of can see where he would be coming from, and this meshes with the glimpses that you get. And then to see Dave from Clete's perspective is really frickin' cool, because you know how Dave feels about Clete being his best friend, and now from Clete's perspective that it's a mutual respect and admiration that they have for each other.
Yep. Yeah, now they were both in the military in Vietnam.
Partners.
Didn't serve together, but then they were partners on the New Orleans Police Department.
Yep, walked a beat together.
Yep.
The Bobbsey twins from Homicide.
Yep. And I know we've said it before, but if you have not read any of the Dave Robichaux novels, you are missing out on the greatest literary voice of our time. And I'm not overstating that. I'm not. The man is ridiculously good in his writing style. His skill is second to none. This is why he's won the Edgar Award twice, which is a rare feat.
He's a grand master.
It will be interesting to see where we go from here, because now Dave and I, this Dave, not Dave Robichaux, are more partial to this series. And his Civil War novels are very, very good.
Yeah.
But he tends to dip into this other storytelling.
The Holland family sagas, which are just a slog to get through.
Yeah, they can be a little bit more difficult to get through. Not because, again, it's nothing against his writing style. It's just the characters don't have the same pull as Dave and Clete. They just don't.
The first Holland couple books, the modern ones, were much better than going into the past to the early Holland forefathers.
Yeah, what, Cimarron Rose and Heartwood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, all right, you got something here, and then going back, and it's like, no. And then he's stuck on the 30s version of the Holland clan. I'm like, just please move on from that one.
And I've always told this Dave that one of the things that's always stuck with me is when I read Stephen King's On Writing, to just try to get inside his head to see what he went through to become a great writer. Now, he's an asshat of a human being, but he is a great writer. And the stories about how he was drinking a case of beer a night. I think he worked at a laundromat. But the thing that ties into James Lee Burke is Stephen King talked about how writers keep almost a vault. They keep manuscripts tucked away.
Yeah.
And that's why you see things like with Michael Crichton, how there were a couple books that were able to be published after his death, because they're always a couple books ahead.
Yeah, they've got, if not full manuscripts that just need final editing, or they have works half done, quarter done, plot outlines all ready to go for somebody else to take over.
And that's, of course, what we've seen with Michael Crichton again, is that there have been 3 or 4 books now. Of course, the big one that just came out is Eruption, where James Patterson, of course, jumped in to write his 9,427th book with a co-author.
Yeah.
Took this idea from Michael Crichton that was left over in his vault. So we'll see how good that is. That'll be next up for me, which means you'll get my review in about 2 months. But we hope, selfishly, we hope that James Lee Burke, because James Lee Burke is getting up there in years. And we have lost Robert B. Parker. And I just don't see James Lee Burke as a type of guy who wants other people to write stories with his characters. I wonder about that.
I don't get that vibe.
I don't even think he'd let his daughter, who is a very successful novelist, Alifair Burke, I don't even think he'd want her to do it. I think he would be the kind of guy to say, you go do your thing, stand on your own 2 feet. I'm fine with putting these characters to rest. So we're worried about, hoping that he has got the final Dave and Clete novel sitting there in his vault.
Ready to go.
Yep. Because there have been a couple moments over the past decade
where we thought, leading up to the final chapter, that could have been it.
Yeah. Very, very major senses of foreboding, omens, things like that just seem like, well, maybe this is the last one. Maybe this is it. So, but Clete is just another phenomenal entry into a phenomenal series. It's a strong 3.5 frenzies for me.
Yes, absolutely agree.
And with the few number of books that I read every year compared to the guy sitting to my right who reads 416 books a year.
Not even close.
It's pretty much already a cinch that this will be my favorite book of the year.
Yeah, it's Burke. Of course it's going to be.
Yep.
I'm going to be hard-pressed to find something better.
Yep. And I appreciate you kind of pulling back the reins so I could read at my pace, because I savor James Lee Burke and his prose. And
as we record this, you just finished it last night. I had finished it about 4 days prior.
Yep. And normally Dave does not do that. Normally Dave will tear through
I normally would have had a Burke book done in 3 days.
Yep. And this is not even a long one.
No, it's not.
Compared to some of the other ones. And you said you've already got one lined up possibly for next week?
I'm almost a quarter of the way through Randy Wayne White's latest Doc Ford adventure. So within a week or 2, I'll have that ready to go.
Yep. So wouldn't be shocked if he's got 2 more.
And then I also picked up John Connolly's latest Charlie Parker mystery. So I've got a couple on tap.
412 books a year. It's right on pace.
I've never hit 100 in a year.
Oh my God.
The most I think was like 72, and that's primarily, that was in the COVID year, and I was catching up on all of the Robert B. Parker Spencer books.
Yes, and that
which I blew through in
for you that must have been easy, because those are quick reads.
Yeah, I would have one done in a couple of days.
Yep. So there you go, kids. One last time. James Lee Burke. Remember the name. Go out and read the series. Start with the Neon Rain. Even though the Neon Rain is a little bit different. It's really Neon Rain, Heaven's Prisoners set things up for what's to come afterwards, where you get more of a straight traditional, different mystery in every book. The first 2 are more background on the
setting
character.
The stage.
Yep.
And then if you want a good Civil War stories, Two Doves at Morning.
White Doves.
Or White Doves at Morning. Oh my God.
And then recently Flags on the Bayou. Yep.
Very, very good.
Yep. Like I mentioned, I will start digging in on Eruption by Patterson and Crichton. And then after that, God help me, I'm going to subject myself to even more Patterson. I can't remember who the co-author is on it, but very intrigued by this new series that they started last year. Holmes, Marple, and Poe. A modern reimagining of the three classic detectives. So
It's intriguing.
yeah, I like Poe is the muscle. Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, not what you would expect.
Yeah. So before we get into our movie review, I of course have news. This is about the time each and every week where I like to drop some info on the Conquistador and you as well, the loyal listener. So, an end of an era. End of an era. Of course, we remember here within the last, year or two it was, that Netflix stopped shipping out DVDs. Well, now, thanks to basically mismanagement by their owners, Chicken Soup for the Soul, that company, that disaster, that mess, who bought Redbox.
Wah, wah, wah.
So now all the Redbox kiosks are shutting down, approximately 24,000 of them across the country. So who knows? Maybe they'll put them up for sale. Wouldn't that be cool to have one in your house?
Have a red box.
Yeah. Maybe can put all your DVDs in there.
Store them in there.
Yeah. Yep. And I like I told you when we first talked about this news heading down for the concert, I wonder if they're going to be cool like Netflix was.
Yeah, where the last one you got, you just get to keep.
Yeah.
That would be the way to go.
A little bit of good PR going out the door.
Yeah, and it's a tax write-off at the same time.
There you go.
Especially since they're filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah. And of course, we're not paying their employees health insurance.
It was just bad all around.
Yep. Well, Dave and I always like to talk about the unequal justice in this world and how if you're rich and powerful, you're going to get away with it where he or I or you out there in podcast land, you'd be in jail for years and years and years. And once again, the world does not let us down when it comes to that viewpoint, as somehow Alec Baldwin, his trial was dismissed. Some kind of faulty investigation going on behind the scenes, some kind of lack of disclosure.
A little technicality, basically.
Yeah, something about a lack of disclosure about a certain piece of ammunition.
Whatever.
Got the whole case thrown out, and now they're looking to get the woman out, the armorer, out of jail because they say this is such a big screw up, they should be able to get her out as well.
No, wrong. Accountability.
Well, the big thing is Alec Baldwin got off, and of course he cried like a baby.
And he's the damn producer who was running everything. It's ultimately his show.
But remember, they said you couldn't use that in trial.
Oh, bullshit.
The fact that he was a producer. It's like we've always said. The rich and the powerful
get away with murder.
Yep. Alec Baldwin crying. I'm so happy that they dismissed
Oh,
this. Now let me go
up.
back to being a raging asshat douchebag who's a nasty, vile human being. And again, it's amazing how everybody forgets the shit he's pulled in the past. Remember the nasty answering machine message he left for his kid?
How many photographers that he's beaten?
Yeah. No, but we all forget, just like Tiger Woods. Just forget about all that. What a swell guy he is. Whatever. Alec,
go away.
One mistake. One more mistake.
And you're on the plane of doom.
Yep, we got your boarding pass ready.
Call.
We got your boarding pass ready, and you can call us whatever fucking pronoun you want. You're getting on the plane. Bad news for Kevin Costner. His epic Western that he basically ditched out on Yellowstone for Horizon Chapter 1 did not do all that well in the theaters. Looks like it's going to lose a lot of money. So even though it was supposed to come out in August, Horizon Chapter 2 has been delayed with no mention of if or when it's going to hit theaters.
Yep, people who've already pre-bought tickets are getting refunds.
Yep. Most likely it'll probably end up on Max. Who knows if we'll see 3 and 4.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Because it's supposed to be a 4-part epic saga. I do feel bad for Costner. I mean, he doesn't strike me as the nicest guy in the world, but at the same time, I think he just does the things he wants to do. If he feels strongly about something, he's going to go at it 110%, for better or for worse, like Waterworld, like the Postman, and now this.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said. Something to be said for guys like that, you know. Yeah, they're going to fail, but they're also going to have huge monster hits. He's also, on the flip side, going to have Dances with Wolves, or he's going to have Yellowstone, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Good news for, believe it or not, Marvel fans.
What?
I know. Shocking, right? We haven't had a lot of good news on the Marvel front in quite a while. Of course, we got Comic-Con coming up. Rumor is Marvel will be introducing or reintroducing, to take over for the next 2 Avengers sequels, the Russo brothers will be coming back.
Nice.
Now,
Very nice.
They're still negotiating.
But which Avengers are we going to get?
Well, we're still negotiating. It's not official yet. As of right now, what we're hearing is that they will be involved in some capacity, but negotiations are ongoing in terms of getting them to direct. And of course, you bring up a very good point. What version of the Avengers are we going to get?
That is going to make or break the entire thing.
But, as a segue, this week in trailers, we have seen the teaser trailer drop for Captain America, Brave New, or is it New World Order? I can't remember if Brave New World or New World Order.
Brave New World Order. Let's combine them.
But of course, Sam Wilson, the Falcon, taking over as Captain America. Looks like he's got a lot of things to iron out with the president, Harrison Ford. And we get a very cool tease at the end of the teaser and the poster, which is awesome. The Red Hulk is going to make an appearance in the new Captain America movie.
That's very intriguing.
Yeah, the poster is awesome. The poster is just the shield, and you see these big red fingers on the outside starting to crush the edges of the shield.
Yeah.
Yep. Very, very cool. Now we have a new trailer, the final trailer, I believe, another short teaser type trailer. This one you're going to have to help me out with, Dave. You're going to have to help me out with this one. It's for Deadpool and Wolverine, which will be out in theaters next weekend. Lady Deadpool. Speculation is, and this is just speculation, no spoilers, but from what they show in this final teaser, they're saying this could be Taylor Swift. Because they don't show a face, but they show blonde hair curling down across the front of a Deadpool outfit. Then there's also
But it could also just as easily be his wife.
Or it could be him in drag.
Which would not put it past him doing something like that either.
Yeah. Then there's also something called Cowboy Deadpool.
There's so much in comics that, wow.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to unpack in this. A lot to unpack, but God help me, looking forward to it. Because like Guardians of the Galaxy, Disney was told, hands off.
Yep.
We're going to do this the way we want to do it, and if you don't like it, we won't do it. And you'll miss out on $400 million at the box office domestic, okay? Let us do it the way we want to do it.
Because it's Deadpool and Wolverine. It's Reynolds and his best friend. Come on.
Yep. Then there is a new trailer out. I don't normally watch a lot of animated stuff anymore. I told you I am going to end up watching that X-Men 97, which, by the way, nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, that looks like it could really be
And
something.
then I think Netflix, coming up on Netflix, the trailer is out for Terminator Zero, an anime Terminator series.
Yeah.
I might dig into that.
I may have to delve into that.
I might dig into that. Oh, you know what I stumbled upon on Netflix the other night? This is probably, I blame Agent Elvis for this. Because that was so fucking good.
Oh my God.
And we know we're not getting another season of it.
Yeah, we got terriered on that one.
But.
Literally.
Yeah. But a new animated series that was supposed to be another risque one debuted on Netflix this week called Exploding Kittens.
Oh, Lord.
Where supposedly we've got these two cats. One is God and one is the devil. And I thought, all right, let me give it 20 minutes. I gave it 20 minutes. That's it. I gave it 20 minutes.
Done.
Very, very underwhelming and not really funny at all. And then we talked about this movie and how it looks very intriguing. Finally, the trailer out for The Substance. Demi Moore.
Ah, yes.
Yep. So, some cool trailers for you kids to check out.
Good stuff. Intriguing stuff.
Now, of course, we move on to our featured movie review of the week. The latest Jason Statham actioner. That would be The Beekeeper. Okay, Dave. Leading into this review, you and I have talked about this. I miss the good old days of the 80s action movies. Jean-Claude Van Damme. As I look over to my left, Hard Target, one of the greatest 80s action movies.
Yep.
The Schwarzenegger, Predator, Raw Deal, Red Heat, Seagal.
Commando.
Steven Seagal, yes, Commando.
Seagal, where you've got
Hard to
Under
Kill.
Siege, Hard to Kill, Hard Target. No, we
that's
just did
Van
that.
Damme, yeah.
I'm looking at that, and that's why
Out
I
for
said
Justice.
it again. Out for Justice.
Marked for Death.
Out for Justice was probably Seagal's best.
Yep, and I loved all those movies. I love them all. And I've been pining and hoping for some semblance of a return. And
just a straight up action movie where you've got a guy who just wants to move on in life and be simple and has to right a wrong.
Yep. Not a overthinking type of plot, but it's still great. It's still visceral. It still pulls you in, gets the adrenaline going, the heart pumping. Now, some people would say, well, we had Liam Neeson. I never got into the Liam Neeson movies. I really didn't. I've seen some of them. I'll admit I didn't watch all 3 Taken movies. I think I watched the first one.
The first one,
it was okay.
It was all right, but it's just Liam Neeson's good, but he's not the action hero.
No. Nonstop was really good. That's the one that I remember that he was in that I really liked. But, I didn't see Unknown. No, I don't count A Walk Among the Tombstones because that was an adaptation of an old Lawrence Block, Matthew Scudder.
Yeah.
That I was down with because the last time they tried that was with Jeff Bridges and 8 Million Ways to Die. So there's some history and a little bit of literary background in that. The rest of the stuff he's done has been almost straight to video, The Marksman, cookie cutter. They almost seem like they're cookie cutter movies. Cold Pursuit. Not really what I was looking for. Not really exactly that 80s vibe or feel to it, but I think Jason Statham might be the man to do it for us. And I think, along with some of the other movies he's done in the past, some of them were hit and miss. Like Crank. Crank was okay.
It had its moments.
But now recently from him, we have got Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man was freaking awesome.
And now we get The Beekeeper. So he's refining this. He's honing this down. He is starting to get us back to the 80s action movie vibe.
Action where, damn the consequences, you screwed something up in my life, and you are going to pay with yours come hell or high water.
Yep, and The Beekeeper, very, very happy with The Beekeeper.
Very enjoyable.
As you can tell by our breakdown of 80s action movies and their plots and comparing it to The Beekeeper, somebody close to Jason Statham's character has been harmed.
And in the most egregious way.
And of course, Jason Statham happens to be a former member of a very super secret government program.
Who has the autonomy to do whatever's necessary to correct any wrong. Retired, but again, you just get sucked right back in.
Yep. And this was great. Great fun. I'm not going to say Statham is an Oscar-winning actor, but he can tweak his persona, and he can make it a little bit different in every movie.
He can pull off the straight man, no nonsense. He can pull off the comedy. He can be the straight-on badass. He can cover every type of character.
Yeah, this is a racking up the body count type of movie.
Yeah. Where he's just like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm getting to who I need to get to.
Now let's share this with the kids, our little discussion here, our little tangent. What did you think? Now see, the thing about this is that maybe initially some people might look at it and goes, well, he's not a real true badass because he kind of looked like he was taking it easy on the Secret Service agents. Not really. Not really,
but they were not his primary target.
But
he was incapacitating them.
Yeah, but I think on some of them,
he went
incapacitating.
He did.
I mean, you're throwing people off balconies.
Yeah.
That's not incapacitating.
No.
You don't know if they're going to land on their necks, snap their necks.
He took it easy on the FBI guys. In the one scene where he walked among them and said, no, if I was going to get in, it would be this way, but this is going to be easier.
But see, he walks the line with this one. He really walks the line. Where, yes, he's working, like you said. He's on his own, autonomous. He's basically allowed, in his mind, to do what he wants to right the wrong.
That's the directive of that particular
and he walks
organization.
That line, like I said, he doesn't seem like he's taking it too easy.
No, you get in my way and
the law enforcement agency comes across. Yeah. And in this day and age, the bad guy, the main bad guy in this, we're all rooting that he gets what he deserves.
Oh, absolutely. A raging douchebag, millennial punk.
Now, when we see how far technically his influence goes up the ladder, that's interesting. And
there was the one moment partway through where I knew, oh God, this is where it's going to wind up.
Yeah, and there are characters in here who are technically on the bad side of things, who you get the impression either didn't know what was going on, stuff was going on behind their backs, or they didn't approve of it and were basically stuck kind of sort of supporting the one main bad guy.
Yeah.
But the filmmakers do an unbelievable job. I don't think it's that hard, but of making all the little sleazeballs along the way just so unbelievably disgusting
that you root for their downfall.
Yes, you almost you get the one the one death scene from who we think initially is the bad guy before we see the onion, the layers getting peeled away, and see who else is involved. And he gets a little bit of a drawn out death.
Yeah.
For the most part, everybody's dying pretty quickly here because we've got to just get the body count. The body count's got to get up in the hundreds as quickly as possible.
Shall we say, quote, the drowning pool? Let the bodies hit the floor.
But that's what I wanted. I was happy with this, so happy with this. It did not let me down. I was glad to see it succeeded, did very well at the box office, because if we get some of these action movies to do well, then maybe Hollywood will step up and take notice.
You know, maybe we gotta stop doing these stupid horror movies that suck, and let's get back to the basic action flick.
Well, that being said, I do want to see Longlegs.
Well, yeah.
That looks creepy.
That looks really damn good.
Yeah, but I'm not going to see Smile 2 and Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Yeah, no, I will pass on that one.
Yeah, and of course, the guy from Five Nights at Freddy's is in this. I'm like, where are the animatronic evil bastards to kill him when we need it?
Exactly.
When we need them. Strong 3 frenzies.
Very strong 3. It's a highly recommended 3.
Yep. Definitely. Check out The Beekeeper on Amazon Prime. So, Dave and I were discussing this as we were prepping for the weekend edition, and this could have been, in terms of moments of silence, the most significant, devastating week
lengthy
when it comes to pop culture icons that we lost. If it's not the most, now there's not like one that stands out, but there is just so many
who've had significant roles in so many different things.
Let me start us off because I'm going to give you a little story. Just weird story. Every once in a while I'll get up on Amazon, especially when I see they're having some kind of a sale on old DVDs. You start going through your collection. I have a list, of what I've got, what I would kind of like to get, but I'm not going to pay more than $3 or $4.
You were looking for Popeye, weren't you?
Close. I am not kidding you. He, of course, is talking about Shelley Duvall, who left us, who passed away. I am not kidding you. 2 days before she died, I bought The Shining.
Really?
Yep, I never had bought The Shining. And so I found a good deal on it for like $4 on Amazon. And so I bought it, and then next thing you know, she dies. Little creepy.
Little creepy.
Little weird, little creepy. But yes, Shelley Duvall, of course, from The Shining and Popeye.
Yep, and she did her fairy tale series and Tall Tales Legends, whatever it was.
Yep.
So did her own producing, so she had a big impact on a lot of things.
Yep.
And then she taught everyone in America how to have good sex. Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
How could you not love Dr. Ruth? Come on. Loosen up.
As the late Robin Williams once said, here you have a Jewish woman who doesn't eat pork talking about oral sex.
In a very thick accent. You put the peanuts in your mouth. You do it much better than I do. I'm talking about the accent. The accent. All right. And yeah, I guess we're going to go down that path. We might as well talk about Richard Simmons.
Yep. America's workout guru forever, sweating to the oldies.
And we've kind of talked a little bit about how Pauly Shore has been trying
to do his
to get him to get him to sign off on Pauly doing his biopic.
Yeah.
And it's still immediately after Simmons passed away, Pauly Shore was like one of the first people out there posting tributes to him. And
Yeah,
I mean, I think the guy actually
the
has
guy,
a genuine respect for him.
he does. What Shore wants to do with this movie is to pay respect and homage
Right.
to what Richard Simmons did culturally, how he helped so many different people. And in a good-natured way. He poked fun at himself in a lot of ways as well. So he
Yep.
was just one of those good guys.
Yep. And then, of course, we have the icon from one of those soapy primetime shows. Not the first wave, of course. The first wave for us growing up was Dallas,
Dynasty, Knots
Falcons
Landing.
Crest.
Yeah.
But then we got that second wave with Beverly Hills 90210 and
Never
Melrose.
watched an episode.
Oh, I watched a little bit. Yeah, I watched a little bit.
Never watched an
Never got
episode
into
of
it like
either
I
of
did.
them.
Never got into it like I did with Dallas. But of course, Shannon Doherty. Now, Dave and I, Shannon Doherty will forever, ever be the woman who called Jason Lee Sega Boy
In Mallrats.
in Mallrats. That's what we will always remember her for. And how she was such a great sport in that movie.
Oh, God.
And she just took to that Kevin Smith dialogue like a natural.
Yeah, that was probably one of Smith's best movies.
I think it's his best. I do. I will always be partial to Mallrats.
Yeah.
You know, you never get
That whole ensemble, the way it just fit together.
Yep.
It
Yep.
didn't feel forced at all in any regard.
Nope. And the thing was, it was never going to live up to Clerks in terms of the hype.
No.
You know, give him more money. Oh, look what he does. He puts it in color. Ooh. It's a better movie.
It is a better movie. It's better acted, better written.
But Clerks is still an awesome classic as well.
It is.
But thoughts and prayers to all the family and friends of the late, great Shannon Doherty.
Yep. And then James Sicking from Hill Street Blues and Doogie Howser.
Yep. Yep. One of those great secondary actors.
Yeah, not a character actor.
And he was never a headliner. He
No.
was never the star of the show. But he was dependable, great actor.
Yep.
2 iconic TV shows, along with appeared in a whole bunch of other
Oh, so many other
shows as well.
things
Yeah.
and movies and
Yep.
And then on the music front, Joe Bonsall, one of the Oak Ridge Boys, passes away.
Yeah, I got him last week, I think.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
All right.
I thought you were going to go with Dave Loggins, who had the ultimate cheesy song back in the 70s, Please Come to Boston.
Yeah, no.
But like we said, a lot.
Yeah, it's just too damn many.
Yeah, a lot of very significant figures in pop culture.
Thoughts and prayers to all of their families and friends. And of course, now it's time to pivot to find out which of our contestants will be deemed this week's Red Foreman's dumbass or not. Or no, Red Foreman's dumbass of the week. Sorry,
We
I'm
used to do
mixing up.
that.
We
Yeah,
used
that's
to
what
do
we used to do
dumbass
until
or
we
not.
changed format.
Yes.
Yep.
So now it's who is going to be our dumbass of the week.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to be a pretty clear-cut pick here, but we'll save that one, the easy one, for number 4. We'll save that for the last one. We'll start off with what could be the dumbest documentary in the history of documentaries. I couldn't believe this. This is one of those ones where I had to do a double take and actually do some research that I did not want to do on this. But there is a documentary coming out called Lover of Men. That the whole theme of this documentary, it's kind of a conspiracy theory documentary, supposing that Abraham Lincoln had a secret gay sex life.
Oh, for the love of God and all that's holy. What?
Actually going to be released. I don't know if it's going to be in theaters.
What the hell is wrong with this world?
Now, I'm going to be a little crass here because I saw somebody put a comment out there about this that's just one of the greatest comments I've ever seen in social media. And this person, when they saw this, didn't want to just be one of the people that, like you and I, would go, how stupid is this? Don't we have anything better to do with our lives? Somebody decided to have a little fun with it and said, yeah, I think I have heard about this. I think I heard that he liked to get blown by guys in theaters.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
But come on. That's great. That is great.
Wow.
I think that's just so funny. Terrible taste.
Terrible
Awful.
taste, especially in light of what just happened.
Yeah, I know, but still. Come on. Oh, we'll get to that. Don't worry. All right.
All right.
Now, we said something good earlier about Disney and Marvel. So now, of course,
We have to go the opposite.
Yes. Now, we mentioned in the new Captain America movie coming out, we've got Sam Wilson taking over as Captain America. And I've always said to me, that's one of the few that I am accepting of. You know how they like to turn all these characters into male to female or white to black.
This is kind of in the main storyline.
Well, and it makes sense. The Falcon's been around since the 70s, teaming with Cap. If Cap were to retire or go away, it only makes sense that Sam Wilson would take over.
Right.
So I never had a problem with that. But I have a problem with this part of the movie. Because this is a little thinly veiled anti-Semitism. Yeah. Now, when the initial draft of the script was, I guess, put out there, and I think this character goes back to the early 80s. The movie is going to feature, in a supporting role, a character called Sabra. Now, in the comic books, Sabra was a Mossad agent, an Israeli Mossad agent,
right,
who was a mutant as well. Disney is worried about the backlash by having an Israeli character in the new Captain America movie, so they have changed her. They changed the script to turn her into a former Black Widow and a U.S. government official.
Lame. Again,
so basically what they did...
Stop changing the character!
Yeah. What happened was they were getting pressure behind the scenes from anti-Israeli factions and groups. So then they changed the character, and now they're getting crap from pro-Israeli groups. Now you can
comic book geeks around the world.
Yeah. The solution is to leave the character alone, as Dave said. Whether you like it or not, keep them the way they are.
As is.
If they're a male, keep them male. If they're female, keep them female. If they're straight, keep them straight. If they're gay, keep them gay. If they're white, keep them white. If they're black, keep them black. How hard is that? All right, this douchebag's been in the news a lot lately, but for other things. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, of course, was a featured part of the whole Trump trial debacle. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, prostitution! What have I been saying for years, Dave?
Legalize it.
Fuck yeah!
That's what she said.
And there have been a lot of Democrats lately kind of saying, well, we should start exploring this. We should start looking into this. Tax it?
Regulate it.
Regulate it. Set it up in clean facilities.
Testing on a regular basis.
Take it off the streets. Put it into places like
Stop
a chicken
human
ranch.
trafficking.
But even Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg figures out a way to be a fucktard liberal when it comes to this. Even though he is one of these Democrats who is re-examining the legalization, or as he called it, the decriminalization of prostitution, he says there should be an exception. He says, I think we're okay if we decriminalize it for the women. Solicitation is fine unless you're a white man. Because it's racist if a white man decides to pay for sex with a black woman. He's trying to use the old slavery power structure.
Oh my God, how stupid of a comment is that?
Yeah, so white men...
That is dumber than fuck.
White men would not be allowed if prostitution was legalized, at least under the watch of Alvin Bragg.
This guy's a moron.
Well, I think we kind of knew that, but...
He's just getting worse and worse. And
we
that's
can,
what
we can make this happen. We can make this happen, people. Let's bring Democrats and Republicans together across the aisle. Blowjobs for everyone. Jesus, let's make this happen. Let's make it work. But I would like to see Alvin Bragg's idea put aside.
How about we string him up?
Legalization for all. Legalization for all. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, the fourth entry here for Dumbass of the Week is probably going to win it hands down and probably going to be one of the front runners for Dumbass of the Year. And it hurts. It hurts me. It hurts Dave. Because it goes back to rock and roll, and it goes to a band that we were supposed to go see in concert later this year. Still not 100% convinced that we're not going to end up seeing them later. I think once things calm down a little bit, they might rethink things, but I think the odds are very slim. We are talking, of course, about Tenacious D. And we're talking about one half of Tenacious D in particular. That would be Kyle Gass. Of course, his bandmate is Jack Black. At a recent show in Australia, yes, after what happened Saturday.
Yep. Celebrating Kyle's birthday, Jack Black arranges to have a cake with candles brought out to celebrate. And tells Kyle, blow out the candles and make a wish. And in utter bad taste, Kyle goes,
don't miss Trump next time. And by all accounts, Jack Black was even initially stunned by this. But then, shame on him, shame on the crowd.
They started giggling and
the crowd was laughing and cheering. Jack Black eventually bought into it. So, again, a bunch of celebrities are a bunch of phonies. Crowds can be sycophants, blind, stupid sycophants.
Yep, that was so in bad taste. Never, no.
So now, of course, Jack Black has come out, taken charge, said that they canceled all of their remaining dates in Australia and New Zealand. They still have, technically, a handful of dates coming up here in October in the U.S., one of which we're supposed to be going to.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared about the crowd now.
Yeah, and Kyle Gass has been dropped by his agent.
No, I did not hear that. Okay.
Yes.
Doesn't shock me. He put out a quote-unquote sincere apology.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. You say stuff like that, that's what's in your heart.
Yeah.
That's what's in your heart. Don't tell us otherwise. That's what's in your heart. All these people in the news media, when they talk, they were the ones that really got this whole rhetoric fired up and going, and then they get shocked by what happened last Saturday and act like, oh, geez, we don't need that. Well, then stop acting like it and stop talking about it.
Yeah, stop hyping that type of behavior up. Stop creating division.
But unfortunately, I think, Dave, it's a pretty easy pick this week. I think you got to go with Kyle Gass.
Kyle Gass.
Yep. Just an absolute atrocious, dumbass comment.
Yep, there you go.
And I think the worst part of it is for personal reasons. And I knew Jack Black was kind of a raging libtard, but man, I did not think they were this nasty. This is kind of the kind of stuff that we're always pointing out on The View.
This is
or on
View,
Morning Joe.
This is Schumer and
Pelosi.
And
I mean, it's bottom of the barrel, disgusting.
Disgusting bullshit.
Yeah. And we do not need this in our society. And it just sucks because, and here's the thing, to wrap this up, I was hearing a lot of different perspectives on this. Obviously in the rock and roll press, in the mainstream media, right, left, whoever, everybody. It didn't matter who. Didn't matter if it was a Republican, didn't matter if it was a Democrat, didn't matter if it was somebody everybody was like, God, I love Tenacious D, but this is a bridge too far.
Yeah.
You know, but they all, Republicans,
everybody
loved Tenacious D until this moment.
Yep.
And that's the shame. That's the heartbreaking part of it to me, selfishly, as a music fan. That's the thing that really sucks. Is that you kind of expect this crap from Roger Waters, because he's just an evil, evil human being, you know, and his anti-Semitism and all his bullshit. But I didn't expect this from Tenacious D. I did not.
Not at all.
No. Oh, and by the way, wrapping things up here, I did not mention during the movie segment, next week we will be reviewing Abigail, which hits Peacock, should be on Peacock for you already as you're listening to this. And then your Uncle Dave is going to have a story time for us.
That's right.
A great, recent modern Western.
So stick around next week for that.
We already told you about music and all that good stuff. Concerts will start up again in 2 weeks. That's your Uncle Dave.
That's your Uncle Kev.
We hope you enjoyed your latest weekend edition, and we hope that the recordings are coming through loud and clear. We started our new recording platform here last week with Riverside. Seems like things are going relatively well, so we hope on your end listening it sounds good. And you can now on Spotify, I believe, if you listen through Spotify, directly drop comments on each and every episode you want.
There you go. Let us know what you think. Give us some suggestions for movies, music.
Yeah, I think they streamlined it right around the same time that they pushed us over to Riverside, where it's a lot easier to put comments on. So there you go.
All right.
But until next Thursday for the sports edition and next Saturday morning for your weekend hangover cure, that is your Uncle Dave.
That's your Uncle Kev.
Say goodnight to the kids, Dave.
Good night to the kids, Dave.